Hi, Ali. Thanks so much for sitting in down with me today.
Pleasure.
I'm really excited to talk about your journey, building up a successful publishing business, um, running it for years, and then going through the process of selling it. It's such a fascinating story, and I think a lot of people will relate to the mix of excitement and challenge that comes with this kind of transition.
Yeah, well, I
So
mean, it wasn't a case of just selling it. It was a case of buying it in the first place, and actually, having you guys there, acted as mentors for both the purchase and the sale. I think everybody thought I owned it for a long period of time,
yeah, we did.
but I didn't. I was just the face of it, and people just assumed it was me. So actually, apart from people behind the scenes, nobody knew I'd actually bought it because they thought it was mine anyway. So yeah, but it's been quite an eventful journey since the conception of it in 2005.
Wow.
When I think quite a few magazines started up with was it My Mag as a
Yeah, it
brand?
was a my mag because I was a my magger.
Yeah, and Karen, who started it, just was not the sort of person that would have entered into that type of agreement. But obviously, she found it was, uh, a big opportunity. And I know her frustration was she lived in one village in one county, but did everything in another county. So we were on borderline. So she actually thought, well, actually, I use tradespeople and blah blah from that county, but I live in a different one. So that's how she started. And obviously, the concept of my mag probably was like, oh yeah, well, I could do this. So she actually started it in 2005, along with like many of you others, all now sort of into your 21st year. Um, and then developed it. So it started off as 3,000 copies being delivered door to door and little black and white printed, but it had an orange cover, token gesture.
Brilliant. Yeah. And when did you start with it?
So I was actually a customer of the Village
Oh,
Emporium.
yeah.
I worked in hospitality and worked a conference venue called Staverton Park for 16 years. And I actually used the Village Emporium as a sales tool for advertising, and it worked really well. So I used to promote the leisure club and the golf club through it for several years. Um, and then I got made redundant from Staverton Park and started off um, because I had Karen as a contact, and actually there was a gentleman running the business for her at the time who I also knew. I kind of started doing some delivering because I've been made redundant. I wanted something to do. I started doing some delivering for them, and then um, it sort of transpired that they wanted some freelance work doing. So they asked me, would I do some freelance work? Because I've been in sales in the hospitality industry. So I kind of joined just on a, very uh, informal, self-employed contract basis. I don't know, it was probably about 10 hours a week or something. And did some work for college as well. So I was just making up my time doing bits and pieces. And I'd also trained as a Nordic walking instructor in my last 6 months of employment with Staverton Park. So I kind of was doing a bit of everything. I was instructing walks, I was walking miles, trying to find routes for people to go on. I was doing some work for the Village Emporium, I was doing some work for college. And do you know what? I actually loved doing the sales for the Village Emporium because it was local and I'm local, and you just have this affinity to want small businesses to succeed. And
Yeah.
I knew a lot of the people, small businesses. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then as time went on, I was asked would I do a few more hours, and then the guy who ran it left, and Karen said, "Would you run it?" I'm like, "No, don't be silly, can't do that. Don't know anything about it." She's like, "Well, I think you can." I'm like, "No, you go back, you drive, you sit in the driving seat, and I'll just help you." And after this went on for about 6 weeks, and I was getting more and more involved, just as you do, because you poke
Yeah.
your nose in there and go, "What's that?" And it's like, "Oh, what's that?" So I thought, well, do you know what? I'll give it a shot for you. And that's where it basically took off. So that was probably about 2012, 13. Um, and so, yeah, so and then she said, well, I was quite happy to replace me as a salesperson and bring in, another part-time salesperson. So we actually, and she changed designer at the time as well. So we were actually, it was a risk to her business, but as mature adults, and we actually all enjoyed what we did. We were all self-employed. So of course, that is a risk to anybody that's, got a business, because anybody could just get up and go
Yeah.
at any time. But the three of us formed an amazing bond, and we kind of got on each other's wavelength. So things become so much easier, don't they? When you kind of think,
Yeah,
well,
they do.
if I open my mouth, Claire's going to know what I'm going to say, and before I say something, Caroline's going to say, I know what you want on that advert, and we worked together as a team. And yeah, Karen sort of took a step back and concentrated on her other business that she ran with her husband, which was much bigger, much more corporate. And we just cracked on and developed it from what it was, which at that point there were actually they'd progressed over the years. So it was about 8 years, and it had progressed from 3,000 up to, at that point, it was about 24,000, and
Wow.
it had
Big
changed
jump.
into big jump, but that was over a period of time, and they'd gone
Yeah.
from one magazine to three, because they'd identified that actually, if we segment the areas, we can target people differently. So they could
Yeah.
target, I only want to be in those 10,000 or those 8,000 or that 8,000. So yeah, when I kind of came on board and started looking at stuff, it was three titles. So it was nice, because she gave me the free rein, or us as a team, to free rein to make improvements, take it to wherever we could.
Ali, you managed it for years, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
You
Um,
did. I know you
and
did.
I did, and so it was a learning curve, because it's kind of like, you have to work with the local people, understand what the local people need. Having worked in hospitality and London hotels, the sales process, it's not a hard sales process, and you
No,
know how newspapers would. I would never, ever, ever do a hard sell, ever.
no. And
Um,
if you're passionate about it, and I know you have been and you still are, then it's an easy sell, isn't it?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you just need to give them the questions that they need to answer themselves. Is it the right target market for you? Is it the right type of household you're going for? Have you asked the questions as a customer? Do you know where the magazines are going to be delivered? Do you know how often they're going to be delivered?
Yeah.
And if you get approached by an annual publication that claims to be XYZ, have you ensured that that hard salesperson, are you sure you've got the answers you need to make that informed decision? And I would happily say that to anybody, and say, free advice. I'm not trying to sell the Village Emporium. I'm just trying to make your money go where you need it to go, and not be ripped off, for want of a better word.
Yeah, yeah. And then when
Um,
did you take the business over? When did you actually buy it?
I think time flies when you're having fun, but it was post COVID. It was 2021.
Yeah, I think it was.
COVID obviously came as a massive shock to all of us, didn't it?
Yeah,
Um, and I didn't own it, but I had to make advice and suggestions to Karen as to how I thought it could be managed. We were in a very fortunate position that we managed to get the whole of the issue delivered before we got locked down. So
yeah.
we were a March April publication, so we managed to get all the March April out with no disruption.
And then how did you get into MagManager though? So that was, you were in MagManager, you were using MagManager prior to that, weren't you?
Yeah, now you might tell me how you managed to end up with us. It was, you took over Key, didn't you? And Key
Yeah.
Key
Ah, yes. You were
Key
original
was,
Key Systems customer, weren't you?
yeah. So the gentleman that ran the Village Emporium before had secured a contract with Key, of that obviously
And
was,
just
far better.
yeah, I'll just stop you there. What happened quite a while ago now, it's about 15 years ago. No, about, I don't know, 10, 10 years ago, we actually MagManager bought Key Systems. And when we bought Key Systems, we moved all those clients into MagManager.
That's
And
how
you
we
were one
ended
of
up
those
with you
clients. And you were one of our clients. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So, and what an improvement. I mean,
Thank you.
just, chalk and cheese. It's, and, I mean, I think the thing with Key, everything, if you had a suggestion, everything went in the fridge. I think that was the right word, or the freezer, for discussion. And it didn't have much flexibility. It was functional.
Yeah, and it
And
was
it
of
was
its time.
certainly,
Yeah,
yeah, I
it
mean,
was of its
before that
time.
we were using Act
Yeah.
as a database, and so yeah, so you guys, obviously transition is, I say, not easy. It's always a challenge, isn't it, moving from one system to another? But it was, and I'll be very honest, I never utilized MagManager to its fullest extent, but it did everything I wanted it to do when I wanted it to do it. And I have to say, my favorite thing is the pie charts. I love your pie charts.
Thank you.
Pictures speak
So,
a million words.
so from running it, managing it for years, then actually buying it post-COVID, and now getting to where you are now, what made you think actually maybe this is the time to sell the business?
Wasn't in the plan. It wasn't in the plan. There was a plan, and the plan would have been 18 months, 2 years for,
Okay.
put some more money in the pension pot. And I'm a great believer in fate, and fate came along. There was a on our magazine forum, Facebook, there was opportunity for somebody who wanted to buy magazines.
Okay.
And I looked at that and thought, fine, I know them, because actually they kind of were next to my territory, if you can call it that. And then there was another request from another local business who said, well, we'd be interested in buying anything as well. And they something
Is that spark, do you think? Was that
it
the
was it
thinking?
was yeah, and that spark was just like, they would be the perfect person to buy the Village Emporium if they were interested. Just because their like-mindedness, their the little bit, well, I've known them for years, but it was like they expressed an interest. So I kind of like, okay, do you want a conversation? And we sparked up a conversation and never went back from there. It was, and the more we spoke, the more we had everything in common.
That's
Uh,
good. That's good, important, because we have also been involved in helping people sell
and
businesses.
you helped me buy, and you helped me sell, and it was
Thank you, Anna.
invaluable advice, that yeah, I would recommend anybody to talk to you if they
Thank
wanted
you.
to have impartial advice, that you can take or leave. And yeah, it was, but it's been very interesting, and I'm absolutely delighted with the people that have bought it, because they are just, as I say, they share all the same values.
But going back a bit, what was behind the decision to sell it? What made you think, right, I want, because you're not old, so what made you think actually now is the time I
Okay,
want to
so
sell it? Was it a
circumstances changed at
lifestyle
home.
or
Yeah, circumstances changed at home a little. So from the time that I got made redundant, I was a Nordic walking instructor. So I was self-employed. I did 5 walks a week, took people out for improved levels of fitness, camaraderie, etc., and ran the Village Emporium, and also did a huge amount of work on the farm, which was my father's.
okay,
So,
we haven't
so
mentioned your farm either, have we? So you actually live on a farm, don't you? Working
yes,
farm, and
yes,
you've got sheep, haven't you?
I got, yes. Oh, probably at the moment probably about 150, which, in anybody else's terms is not a huge amount, but when it's just me now.
Yeah.
Um, so so yeah, my father passed away last May. So I was suddenly left holding the farm.
With your family farm, effectively.
Yeah, And actually, the physical side of it is no different, but you have to take on all the admin, and trust
Yeah.
me, there's a lot, and changes in farming legislation and the government, etc., etc., etc. So, and of course, my mum, she lives next door, so suddenly life became quite a lot more challenging.
I can imagine.
And the fact that this was knocking on the door, it was like, okay. And it was a very, I have to say, what made it great transition was I wasn't actually that bothered. I loved the magazine. If it was going to sell, that's
Okay.
fine. If it wasn't going to sell, that's fine. So it
Interesting.
was 50-50. But what you have to remember is that while you're in discussions, while there are various things going on, you still have to run that business as if it
Yeah.
didn't happen. So
Yeah.
you still got to maintain that level of sales, administration, etc., even if it doesn't go through. But
Yeah.
what I was always conscious of was, do you know what? If it doesn't happen, I'm not bothered. If it does happen, I'm not bothered.
Okay. And what you're saying effectively is you can't let it be a distraction to really carry on running that business well.
Absolutely, because if it didn't go through, at some point you'd still want to sell it, and obviously you want to sell a business while it's on the up, and
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so yeah, so you can never take your fit. So actually, the last 6 months has probably been the hardest
Yeah, you've been busy.
because you're constantly thinking, and yeah, so it's been interesting, but yeah, never take your foot off the pedal.
No. And what about valuing the business? How do you go about valuing it?
Hmm. Well, you have to come to an agreement. You've got to look at your sales. You've got to look at your bottom line. You've got to look at, for me, it was the 18 months to 2 years that I would have kept it if I was going to keep it,
Okay.
and finding an agreeable solution.
So
So I think,
did you come up with a value based on a formula that was or felt that was
yeah, I
right on
mean,
your
yeah,
experience?
I
What?
suppose, in principle, you've got to base it on your profit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I wouldn't say we followed a formula as such, but it was a case of advice again from yourselves, seeking advice from both your own accountant and a freelance accountant that would be looking at it from a completely separate point of view.
Yeah.
um, and then some people would look at it very harshly in a corporate world and say you need this, and it's like, well, yeah, but um you still want it to go through. If you've made that decision that you are wanting to sell, it's got to be right for you and the people that were buying it. I'm very passionate about, so you don't want to, it's not like I was going to walk away from the business.
No. No. You're still
um
involved in it, really, aren't you?
yeah,
And I think that's important because then and you seeked really good advice. Yeah, you came to us and asked us for some advice. You asked your accountant. You asked another accountant that wasn't part of yours to give another advice. And I suppose having all those kind of pieces of information, then you were able then to go and speak to the buyer and saying, well, this is what I think is the
yeah.
value of the business.
And in actual fact, we ended up with uh probably 95% of the advice was do this, and we actually did the 5%.
Okay, that's interesting. No, that's
but have,
interesting.
but have come out with the more, and then when you've decided you're actually going to go down that route, it makes life a lot easier to plan.
Yeah, yeah. And I think in a way you were luckier because even though you've known your buyer for a long time, but not personally or having a big kind of a relationship with a person, you've
Yeah,
known of them and you know how they run a business.
yeah,
So you know that what the business they currently have, their magazine current business they currently have, is well run and well managed.
absolutely,
And that kind of
absolutely.
makes it easy, I suspect, for you because when you've built up something like you have, a really well established business, let's not take away anything from that because I know that it's very profitable and you've built and at the end of the day you've done most of that work. You've built up all those relationships, all those advertisers.
Yeah,
You want to make sure when you pass that on, when even though you're selling it, you pass it on to somebody who's going to look after those people.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. And there are differences in how we operate, subtle, but I'm now working with them to help that transition through, but also I say for the long term, it's as long as we both are in agreement that I'll be working on projects with them and various things. So actually, in fact, customers don't need to lose me, but we can, make it a smoother operation rather than people thinking, well, I've just disappeared off the face of the earth, because I haven't. So yeah, that's been appreciated by customers as well. So yeah, I think we're part of for me, I've become part of a team for however long it lasts. And that's nice because, since COVID, you're working on your own. It's a lonely old world out there.
Yeah.
And 99% of the time you're talking to customers who are, constantly asking you, well, how's everybody else doing? How's everybody else doing? God, it's a really quiet week, doom and gloom and all the rest of it. And now you're actually, dealing with people or talking to people, working with people that you're kind of on the other side of the fence. So yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, it was the right thing for everybody, and I'm just delighted to still be a part of it.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like you've got the ideal scenario. You've sold the business which you wanted to do because you need to spend more time at the farm. And I know you've got an elderly mum who lives next door to you on the farm. And obviously she lost her husband, her partner last year. So there's managing that.
Yeah,
And so things have changed for you. And you've got responsibility of obviously the financial aspect of that. And I can imagine that can be quite difficult in these day and age, particularly with farming. And then, but you're still involved with that business, that passionate magazine that you've built up over these years,
yeah,
and you've sold it to somebody who's going to look after that. But
yeah.
you're also still involved. So you're still talking to the customers. And it might be that you stay with working for them for the next few years, or it gives you the think, well, actually, things have changed at home, that I need to spend more time here. Then you've got that kind of flexibility.
Might go and buy some more sheep.
And you might go and buy some more sheep. Yes. Yes.
But I mean, the beauty that the beauty of working on a magazine on your own, and there are obviously pros and cons to it. The cons being obviously it is quite a lonely business. The pros are you work at the hours to suit you that gets the
Yeah.
job done.
Mm.
And actually, most of your clients don't really want to talk to you between 9 and 5 because they're up a ladder, cleaning the chimney, got their head down a toilet or something, and they won't
Yeah.
answer you. But if
No.
you email them at 8 o'clock at night, you'll get a reply. And if you
That's
email them at
interesting.
7 o'clock in the morning, you'll get a reply. So actually, it is a very, very flexible job. As long as the job is done, you can do it in the hours that suit you. So I think that's why it worked doing my Nordic walking, the magazine, and the farming, because all three, nothing is structured. Everything has a time and a place, but it's all flexible. So you probably worked probably more hours than you'd want to, but you loved every single aspect of it. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like a chore.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Um, right. I think we've covered everything that I really wanted to say about it. One of the questions was, how long did it take from that first conversation to the final handover with your buyer?
5.5 months.
Oh, that's quite good.
Yeah.
That is quite good. And I know MagManager helps streamline a lot of your operations, but can you tell us how that made a difference when you were preparing to sell the business?
Well, the beauty of it was they work on the same system. So although there were differences, there is differences on the month. So I think it's been quite a challenging transition from my uh, MagManager to theirs, just because they run they've got 16 magazines, and they're taking on an extra
Yeah,
one. So
yeah,
to move it to be alternate months, we've had to move it. Well, they've moved it, and that's really the one big difference with the Village Emporium. It's now running on opposite months to what it was. But I have to say, through communication to customers, and the way that we've dealt with it, both from my side and from their side, it's been, I would say, 99% smooth. And, if
Wow.
customers have had an issue, they will just email me, phone me, WhatsApp me going, can I just check this? And it'd be like, yeah, it's all perfect. We're working together as a big team. And it's like, okay, makes sense. So
Okay.
it's how you deal with things. But, MagManager, the
Yes.
fact that it's from a customer point of view, obviously they'll get the same looking invoice, they'll get the same sort of communication looking. So again, anybody who wants to use MagManager, it does make life very easy.
And I think also transparent. Don't
Yeah,
you think? Everything is there. These are the customers. These are the bookings.
yeah,
These are all our regular customers. These are our ongoing
yeah,
bookings. These are the renewals.
yeah.
It's
And
kind of all,
yeah, and
hopefully.
everybody uses it different, like every computer system, don't they? I mean, as I said before, I have never used it to its maximum potential because the business was me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
And so, wrong to say some of it was in my head, but it was as I say, I just loved the pie charts. But for most companies, if you use MagManager to its maximum and every spreadsheet, every tab and everything else, you've got a fabulous product.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Handy. Thanks for saying that. Um, so what advice would you give other publishers or small business owners thinking about selling?
I don't think many people would be in as fortunate position as me that sort of fate came knocking on the door. So really, if you're thinking of selling, you've got to do your due diligence and get, I suppose, all your facts together and work out what it is you want out of your sale. And yeah, we did start talking and sharing information ahead of a signed contract, which probably is not the most advisable thing to do, but because we knew each other, I wouldn't have done it with any other company.
No,
You
you
know,
have to be careful, don't you?
you do have to be very careful, and you kind of think, how much? But again, the reason we did it was for the good of the customer,
Yeah.
and it
Okay.
worked. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the advice you'd give to anybody if you didn't have that same relationship with the buyer from the
That you
purchaser's
had. Yeah.
perspective. Yeah, yeah.
And so, okay then. What is it for you now, Ali? Where are you going to go now? Are you going to spend more time with, you're going to do a bit of like everything like you do? We still keep the Nordic walk-in, still keep
Yeah,
the
yeah,
farm, still
yeah,
carry on with the magazine. What do
yeah.
you see your future being?
Well, semi-retirement.
You're joking. What with the farm?
Yeah, no, but that's yeah. Um, I've got a dog I need to train.
What, a
I've got
sheepdog?
Yeah, I've got two sheepdogs and one's trained and one's not. Which he's about 4 now, which is a bit daft, but he's adorable. So I'm going to spend some time with him. Um,
Oh, that's nice.
and if I get asked to do stuff, I'd go and I could never go back in the corporate world. I don't think I could ever go and work for anybody
No.
that was on a regular basis. But if
Yeah.
somebody said to me, what are you doing tomorrow night? Can you come and help us on an event? I'd go and do it. I just, variety is the spice of life. Going into winter, it's a bit there, isn't it? It's, dark nights and all the rest of
Yeah.
it. I start lambing in January, so that'll keep me busy January, February, March. And then when you get to summer again next year, might take a stance. But I'm working for Lynn and Steve, so doing various things. So there's lots of irons in lots of pies, but I'm not going to commit to anything at the moment. Just see how the road takes us.
Okay. And thanks, Ali. Thanks for your time today. And thanks for taking the time out to just talk about the process you've gone through and sharing that with us. It's really appreciated.
I'll share one nugget of information that I think most of your um, other maggers would probably disagree with, because it's all about revenue. Is what made the Village Emporium successful is its front cover.
Okay. All right. And
Amazing
you
imagery.
never sold your front
Never,
cover?
never.
You know what? You and I have always been on the same page with that.
Yeah,
I never sold the front cover because I always
no.
thought it was a shop window.
Yep, absolutely. And for the past few years, we've had an excellent advertiser on the back cover who just has awesome artwork. So it doesn't matter whether it lands on the front, upside down, or whichever way through the letterbox, it is an awesome looking product.
Okay, brilliant. Okay. Oh, thanks, Sally. I really appreciate your time today. It's really
Lovely to
good to
talk to
speak
you.
to you. Let's keep in touch, though. Keep in
Definitely.
contact. Don't, keep in contact.
I
All right.
will. Got your
Okay.
details.